The fear of the unknown is still there, but something inside her begins to stir. A spark of courage. And this is where the journey begins. Because every powerful story, every hero's journey, starts with a difficult decision. Welcome to Good Stories Today, your channel for emotional storytelling. Listen while you drive, work, or simply tune in for a dose of inspiration. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next videos. Now let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Before the flight. The weight of the decision. Sophie stands in front of the departure board. But the real flight she needs to take isn't in the sky, it's within herself. The decision to leave didn't come easy. She walked away from a quiet apartment, a colorless routine, and a broken heart. Her suitcase may feel light, but the emotional weight is enormous. Every step toward the boarding gate feels like walking through a hallway of memories, doubts, and fears. As she waits to board, flashes from the past flood her mind. A childhood marked by absence, family dinners filled with silence, a job that became just a lifeless routine. No passion, no purpose. Sophie wonders if she's running away or finally breaking free. The doubt is painful but necessary, because sometimes discomfort is the first sign that something needs to change. And in that moment, she realizes, maybe this flight isn't an escape, but a reunion with who she truly is. Before stepping onto the plane, Sophie takes a deep breath. She looks around and sees people coming and going, each carrying their own story. She feels small but strangely free. The fear of the unknown is still there, but something inside her begins to stir. A spark of courage. And this is where the journey begins, because every powerful story, every hero's journey, starts with a difficult decision. Chapter 2. The first conflict. The flight and the fall. The plane lifts off, and Sophie watches through the window as the city shrinks below, like she's saying goodbye to a life that no longer felt like hers. The sky is clear, but inside her, everything is a storm. Memories of her last conversation with her parents, heavy with hurt and words left unsaid, echo like thunder. She wonders if broken bridges can ever be rebuilt. Her heart tightens, and the feeling of being alone grows stronger. The aircraft cuts through clouds like tearing pages from an old book. Sophie tries to distract herself, but every face around her seems to reflect a version of herself. People searching for something, maybe peace, maybe escape. She closes her eyes and remembers the hug that never happened, the message she never replied to, the love that vanished without explanation. All of it weighs more than the suitcase she checked in. Suddenly, the sky shifts. The clouds grow thick, dark, threatening. The plane begins to shake, and the silence is replaced by nervous whispers. A bolt of lightning splits the horizon, and the metallic sound of the fuselage being struck makes Sophie's heart race. She grips her seatbelt tightly, as if she could hold on to life itself. Fear takes over and time seems to slow down. The lights flicker. The ground trembles. A scream cuts through the cabin, followed by a crash that feels like the world splitting in two. Sophie tries to stay conscious, but everything fades to black. Her last thought before losing awareness is a childhood memory, running through trees, free, unaware that one day she'd return to nature in search of salvation. Silence returns, but now it's different. It's the silence of the unknown. In the darkness, there's no control, no plans, no certainty, just a body thrown somewhere, a mind floating between fear and forgetfulness. The fall wasn't just physical, it was a rupture from everything she knew. And without realizing it, Sophie has just crossed the first threshold of her hero's journey. From here on, there's no turning back. What lies ahead is a long story, full of challenges, one that will demand everything she has, and everything she doesn't yet know she holds. Chapter 3. Surviving the jungle. The despair. The first breath that fills Sophie's lungs is heavy, humid, thick with earth and leaves. She wakes up with her body aching, her face scratched, and a disorienting sense that makes her question reality itself. All around her, the forest looms with an almost living presence. The wreckage of the plane is scattered, twisted, as if swallowed by the jungle. No voices, no human movement. Just her. Fear crashes over her like a wave. Sophie tries to stand, but her body won't cooperate. Every attempt feels superhuman. The sounds of the forest, cracking branches, sharp bird calls, the buzz of insects, are amplified, as if nature itself is watching her. She curls up, trying to protect herself, but there's no shelter, no walls, no roof. The jungle is vast and she is tiny. Loneliness weighs heavier than the physical pain. As hours pass, hunger begins to scream. Sophie searches the area for something to eat, but everything looks unfamiliar, dangerous. Following the stream, she notices faint footprints in the mud, maybe from a small animal. Further ahead, she finds chewed-up shells and scattered fruit. She observes carefully, touches gently, and decides to take a risk. It's not technical knowledge, it's instinct, guided by observation. And for now, that's enough. She remembers the stories she used to hear sitting on the kitchen floor while her grandmother brewed coffee. Stories of strong women who faced nature with courage and wisdom. Sophie repeats the words she heard so many times. The forest is harsh, but it teaches. And there, among vines and roots, she begins to understand what that means. The jungle isn't just a threat, it's a mirror, and what she sees reflected is a strength she never knew she had. Each day, Sophie learns something new. How to follow the flow of water, how to shield herself from the rain, how to listen to the forest without panicking. Survival stops being just instinct. It becomes a choice. She's no longer just trying to stay alive. She's fighting to find herself. And even without knowing what lies ahead, she keeps going, because something is growing inside her. The certainty that even lost, she's on the right path. Chapter 4. The Turning Point. Rediscovering strength. Time in the jungle is no longer measured in hours, but in battles won. Sophie is exhausted, her body covered in scratches, her mind on the edge of collapse. But something shifts when she spots, through branches and shadows, an old boat stranded on the riverbank. The wood is worn, covered in moss, but it's real, proof that someone had been there before, and that reignites a spark she thought was gone. She approaches slowly, each step a fight against fatigue. When she touches the boat, the tears come uncontrollably. It's not just relief. It's the reminder that the world still exists beyond the jungle. Even in a daze, Sophie knows she must keep going. The sight of the boat rekindles something inside her. The courage she thought she'd lost. It's not a guarantee of rescue, but it's enough to move forward. Sometimes, all it takes is one detail to reignite the will to live. Using the boat as a reference point, she reorganizes her thoughts. She builds a shelter nearby, uses the river as a guide, and gathers strength to continue. The forest remains relentless, but now Sophie is no longer adrift. She has a starting point, a direction, and that changes everything. Because in the hero's journey, the turning point isn't when things get easier. It's when the protagonist chooses not to give up, even without certainty. In the days that follow, she begins to notice nature's signals more closely. She sees how the river changes color after rain, how birds warn of danger before it arrives. She learns to listen with her body, to feel with her feet, to think with instinct. The jungle stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. Each discovery is a small victory, and each victory, a new layer of strength. Sophie starts talking to herself, as if narrating her own story. Not out of madness, but out of necessity. She needs to hear her own voice, to remember she still exists. And in that process, something profound happens. She stops being the woman who boarded that plane and begins to become someone new. Someone who no longer depends on external certainty to keep going. Someone who, even wounded, chooses to continue. Chapter 5. The journey of overcoming. Time passes, and Sophie is no longer the same. Her body still bears the marks, but her mind begins to grow stronger. She builds a shelter from branches and leaves, learns to treat wounds with what she finds in the forest, and starts to understand the rhythms of the jungle. Each day is a quiet victory. Survival stops being desperation and becomes routine. A harsh routine, but one that reveals a new version of herself. Fragments of her old life return. The office, the emails, the endless meetings that once felt urgent. Now all of it seems distant, almost irrelevant. Sophie realizes she never had time for herself, never paused to listen to her own silence. never asked what truly mattered. In the forest, without distractions, she reconnects with questions she avoided for years, and she begins to build answers based on what she feels, not on what others expected of her. She remembers her grandparents, the stories told by the stove, the simple advice that now makes sense. Don't give up until you've tried everything. That phrase becomes her mantra. Sophie whispers it while gathering fruit, while braving the rain, while shielding herself from the cold. With each challenge overcome, she transforms, not by choice, but by necessity. And that transformation is deep, quiet, powerful. Over time, she develops skills she never imagined she had. She learns to fish with sticks, to recognize warning sounds, to build small systems for collecting rainwater. The forest, once a threat, becomes an ally. Sophie doesn't just survive, she lives. And this life, though tough, feels more real than any she's ever known. Because now, every action has purpose. Every decision carries weight. Every day holds value. And through this process, Sophie discovers something essential. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about rising with greater wisdom. The forest didn't spare her, but it taught her. And she, who arrived broken, begins to rebuild herself with the pieces she finds within. The hero's journey isn't about defeating external monsters. It's about facing your own fears and emerging with new awareness. Sophie is ready for the next step, even if she doesn't yet know what it will be. Chapter 6: The Miracle and the Unexpected Ending. The sky begins to change. The clouds part, and light filters through the treetops with a softness Sophie hasn't seen in days. She feels something different in the air, as if the forest is about to reveal a secret. In the distance, a rhythmic metallic sound breaks the silence. She rises slowly, heart pounding, and follows the sound with uncertain steps. Every noise is a promise, every movement, a hope. Between the trees, she sees uniforms, human voices, equipment, a rescue team. For a moment, Sophie freezes. She doesn't know if she's dreaming or if she's finally reached the end of her journey. When one of the rescuers meets her eyes, everything collapses. She falls to her knees, overcome by a mix of relief, exhaustion, and gratitude. It's a reunion with the world, with life, with the possibility of starting over. And more than that, it's confirmation that her struggle was not in vain. In the days that follow, now safe, Sophie is cared for, listened to, embraced. Her story begins to circulate among the rescue team, then among journalists, and soon it spreads across social media. But what surprises her most isn't the attention, it's the impact. People begin to write, to share their own pain, their falls, their triumphs. Sophie realizes that the fall, which once felt like the end, was actually the beginning of something greater. Her story becomes a symbol of courage. She's invited to interviews, talks, gatherings. But what moves her most are the messages from strangers. You helped me not give up. Your story reminded me of my strength. Sophie understands that her journey doesn't end with the rescue. It continues, now as inspiration, and that gives meaning to everything she lived. The pain, the fear, the loneliness, all of it becomes a bridge for others to cross their own abysses. And in this new role, Sophie finds her mission. She decides to write, to speak, to share, not as a hero, but as someone who fell and chose to rise. Her story becomes one of those powerful stories that make people think, that inspire, that accompany listeners as they drive, work, or search for meaning. Because in the end, the hero's journey isn't about glory, it's about transformation. And Sophie is living proof that even in the heart of the jungle, there is always hope and courage to begin again. Epilogue. Sophie stands in front of the cameras, but she doesn't speak like someone who won a battle. She speaks like someone who learned how to live. Her voice is steady, yet carries the softness of someone who knows pain. She doesn't romanticize suffering, nor does she present herself as an example. She simply shares. She tells how the fall forced her to look inward, how the forest taught her to listen to her own silence, how solitude revealed a forgotten strength. She says that sometimes, life pushes us to the bottom, not to punish us, but to show us what's down there. And at the bottom, there are roots, there are memories, there are stories that hold us up. Sophie learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to keep going, even when everything feels lost. And that each person carries a forest within, full of dangers, yes, but also full of paths, of fruit, of lights that only appear in the dark. If you've made it this far, maybe this story touched something inside you. Maybe you're facing your own fall, your own silence, your own forest. And if you are, know this: you're not alone. There is strength in you that hasn't been discovered yet. There are paths that only appear when you choose to walk. And there are stories that, when shared, light up other hearts. So if this journey moved you, subscribe to Good Stories today and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next stories. Here, you'll find emotional stories. Stories that make you think. Stories to listen to while you drive, work, or simply search for inspiration. Stories that don't offer ready-made answers, but ask honest questions, the ones that truly matter. And if you've lived something that changed you, share it in the comments. Your story might be someone else's turning point, because in the end, that's what connects us. The courage to tell, to listen, to feel. Thank you for walking with Sophie this far. May this journey leave a mark on you and inspire you to write the next chapters of your own story.